I mean, that's the point. I didn't even go back and read that bizarre passage you put in yesterday in the chat.
Oh, fascist time sorcerer.
I read it. I did not understand it.
No, I don't understand it. I'm reading the book.
I kind of like skim read across it, and there were like a couple of phrases. There was something about chaotic trash, I think. I couldn't just write out the things and not put any context around why I'm repeating them.
I'm very pro saying words without context.
And as I said, I'd played like 8 to 10 hours of Final Fantasy 14, so I just didn't have anything left.
Hello and welcome to Roll for Conversation. Once again, you join us for group therapy, shared despair, and holistic screaming into the void, all while proudly being woke as fuck. Iain and Mark, back from the Nether Plains. How you doing?
Good, I've summoned myself. Yeah, Iain, tell us about Final Fantasy 14 and how
Straight in. Well, I mean, I started trying to tell Connie about it earlier because she said, what's your next video going to be about? And I said, well, I think it might be about Final Fantasy 14. And she said, well, you call that one Why I Hate Final Fantasy 14. And I was like, I don't know if it's that easy. Like, my working title was going to be, I think I hate this game. But...
you resting on a decision?
I mean, the titles that I give my videos, I suppose there's a loose series of like why I love X, not the everything app, is, as I said in my sort of Doom video, it's like there is a fair amount of like hyperbole there. It's not like, you know, I don't always love it. There is a little bit of like, I'm trying to goad you in. So I could go with like why I hate, but I think that I should put why I hate Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn. Because like, I don't think I totally hate it. Because but what I'm struggling with is that just because it's so familiar in so many ways? It's tab target, although I've had to do some weird stuff to try and get it to tab target like a normal fucking tab target game. But, you know, I can move the same. I use both mouse buttons down together to go forward. I use the side button on my mouse to go backwards. I've got my left hand free for all of my rotation. I'm using control and plus a number for my second skill bar. It's all, everything's very familiar. So it feels like a proper MMO RPG, and indeed it is. But like, this has been a long running thing. Like if I just click on Steam, I've played this fucking cunt game for 169 hours now. And I know I've played a couple of different characters to a couple of different levels. But like, and then I was like, right, I've got to stick, because that's the problem. I really always think the grass is greener on the other side. Mm-hmm. Like I always like, well, maybe I should be a wizard, or maybe I should be that. But then with this game, unlike other games where you could probably make up that time fairly quick, perhaps not in WoW Classic like I found out, but with Final Fantasy 14, like I just know that if I was to go and change, it would take so long to get back to where I am, and I can't go through all of that again. Like this. I can't, not like this. I can't go through it all again. And I've gone through the first expansion essentially, So I'm now into the part where it's like it was the patches. So I'm guessing within reason, if I was playing along at the time, I would have gone off and just ground a bit, done some side quests, worked on getting materia for upgrading shit, and just done in between stuff. And then I'd be like, oh, good, the next patch has been released.
Yeah, you're in the filler episodes.
Yeah, but because I'm just desperately trying to get through, because basically I'm operating on the hope and the prayer and the promise from everyone that is seemingly everyone in the fucking world that this game will get better. Like the expansions are much better, and I know, and this first Realm Reborn is a bit like old-fashioned, a bit janky, a bit sort of like just, well, not so much janky, but just a bit obtuse with how it was to play it. But like everyone says it's getting better now. The problem is that I sort of was speaking to you about this, Mark, is that I know that this game is about the story. So there is a fair amount of worry inside me that, like, when people are saying the game gets better, do they just mean the story gets better and not the actual game? But there are parts of it that are enjoyable. Like, every now and then when we're fighting a big boss or something, okay, it's not enjoyable. It's not good to play. I still prefer the moment-to-moment gameplay.
Yeah,
The moment-to-moment gameplay of like Guild Wars 2 or Final or Jesus Christ or WoW.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my position is very unique. I'm not a special flower or anything, but what I mean by that is
I think
that
you are.
because yes, I am. Of course. Why deny it? This is all about me. Is that because I'm playing and I've got it all laid out in front of me. And I'm just desperately trying to get through. I'm not luxuriating in the whole experience like perhaps someone would be or should be. So I really want to get through it. And of course, this game just wants to throw every possible like delay in front of me, even down to very simple things, just down to like, you know, in normal MMORPGs where you run up to someone and you're going to hand in a quest, and part of that handing that quest is that you have to pass them something that you collected for them back somewhere else. Now, in normal games, you just click on them and it goes, thank you for giving me the book, fair warrior, or whatever. In this game, I have to click on it, I have to drag the book over and put it in their little inventory and then press give book. And so
it's a give booking simulator.
Just little things like that. And so I've also had like a list of all the MSQ quests for this, because it's not like I can just go, well, I'm level 51 now, so I'll just go to the next like expansion. As far as I understand it, and maybe if this is wrong, I don't know, but as far as I understand it, I have to do the quests that set up the next expansion, like Heaven's Sword or whatever it is. And like, and I today is another point. I just keep getting these little points where I'm just like, I just get like infinite sadness. Like I looked at it and I thought I was on the last chunk. I was like halfway through the last sort of 18 quests. And then it would take, and then like, I scrolled down and there was like another fucking set of quests because there was another patch after this. So I'm just sort of like, oh God.
I do wonder if some of my enjoyment of it was Stockholm Syndrome by the end.
Well, this is it. Like, I'm still playing it. Like I said to you, I feel like I'm operating off spite now. And just like, what was it today that I sent you the picture of where I went to do, like, part of it is like, I've got to go and do a dungeon. Like, fine. So go and do a dungeon. And then it goes, you need an item level of 80. And I was like, okay. And I looked, and I had an item level of 79. I was like, whoa. I was like, where am I going to get this extra item level? So I then have to fucking look it up. I was like, I go to the market board and go and buy some gear. So I went all the way to fucking Oldar or whatever, and I found the market board, and I looked, and I wasn't looking at the item level, but I found a fucking jerkin or whatever that was like, that made my stats way higher. So I was like, fine. And because I don't give a shit about anything in this game, I have just accrued so much cash. I was like, fine, I'll just blast cash on it. I don't even care if it's overpriced. So I bought it and I put it on and my item level went down. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I realized that it's like, it is a way more powerful item, but the item level is lower.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay. So I bought a shitter item and put that on and my item level went up and it allowed me to go and play the fucking dungeon. And as I said, like, basically, after I finished and posted my World of Warcraft video last Friday night or whatever, I was like, right, I did the chores, and I had nothing left to do. So I was just like, do you know what? I'll just do mindless grinding. So I might as well do Final Fantasy 14 because I want to get into the next expansion. And I hadn't played it for a few months. So I went in and I started playing it. And it is literally at this point, I click on the fucking little person and I hear the little burr, 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 burr.
The sigh.
And then I hear the little burr, 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 burr. And then I go, okay, right, I've accepted the quest. And then I just click straight on the quest name and it opens the map. And I go, right, where's the nearest blue crystal? And I click on it. And then I just fucking fast travel to that. And then I just walk to the quest giver. And then I talk to him. And then I do part of it. And then I just go, right, that's changed. So I click on the quest. It brings up the next location on the map. And I just click on the blue crystal. And I just fast travel there. And then I talk to someone else. And then I just keep doing that. And eventually
it does become
I'll get
like
to
a
one.
level select simulator, doesn't it?
And then it will play like a little. Then it will play like a little cutscene. And I've just realised this is a good segue. And it'll play a little cutscene. And the cutscenes are, at this point, they're voiced. My character don't say shit because he's a fucking mute. But they are voiced now. But like the game has ground me down so much. It's just like, oh my God, I just don't care. And so I'm just like clicking the button to get
really
them to shut the fuck up. Oh, it's terrible. And like you were saying about mayhaps you've got this. I was like, why do we have to speak like this?
And only a couple of them do. So that like it's clearly not like a localized linguistic thing. So that one guy just speaks like he's from the past for reasons.
God. And so essentially it's ground me down so much. It ground me down. It made me so mad. This is the saddest thing. It made me so fucking mad. Like maybe it's a fucking psyop. That I went mad. I went in the shop and I paid them an extra £5 to just change myself because I was sick of looking at my Al Ra or whatever his name is, the big dragon guy, because he's got like such. He has such womanly hips, and I don't like the way he runs. And I was just getting sick of looking at his fucking weird sort of like
stupid lady hips,
stupid lady hips, and his pouty face. So what did I do? I turned myself into a fucking naturally. I turned myself into a lalafell or whatever it's called, and then gave myself a moustache and all loads of earrings, and I'm now like the tiniest dragoon. So the game gave me brain damage and made me go into the shop and actually give them more money. Like, I don't even know why. Like it's a psyop or something. It's a tactic.
Yeah, like the level skips you can buy. I think they know how boring it is to.
I'm not buying the level skip because like I said, it's become like a spite thing. It's like I won't. It's a
matter of principle now.
And I'm hoping that it will kind of pick up. So I will make a video about how much I fucking hate this game and all the things that piss me off about it. But what I want to like segue back onto you, Mark, is that if I talk about the fact that, like I said, that the cutscenes were voiced at this point. Now, in Guild Wars 2, I haven't paid great attention, but I broadly know what's going on because it just kind of tells me and has a cutscene. And usually you're in the cutscene. You can even kind of wander off and they'll keep talking to you because they've given you like a magical sort of like headset that means you can talk to each other everywhere. Either which way, it kind of just doles out the cutscenes in smaller chunks and it's not labouring it. and you get to do a lot of action in between. So you're kept engaged, but it's enough for me to know the story. Whereas in here, it's so boring. Like, and maybe there is a good story. At one point, I got interested where it seemed like there was going to be a fucking uprising because I talk about the disparity between the poor and the rich in Oldar. Yeah. And then I found out it's not actually going to be uprising. It's just some evil twat is using the poor. So it's not like they're legitimately angry. It's just like, oh, the poor were just mugged off by a demon for a while, and then we just never heard about it again. So my point is that it doesn't do for a story-driven game. It doesn't do a good job at like setting up the story. Whereas, as I mentioned before, I know it and I think this is why I'm saying this, because at one point in the chat I mentioned so much of this game could have just been a nice, really well done cutscene, and I could have just sat there and watched it rather than thinking I have to press next. Because I don't really like story, because I want to be in the game. But a game that you've been playing this week, that I played and Ben played, I started watching it and it had seeded the story in me from within the first 10 minutes or so, really. I was like, okay, I want to know what the fuck this paintress bitch is all about and what's going on here. So that feels like good storytelling where even me, who doesn't really give a shit about the story, was instantly like, I need to know what the story is, even though I didn't I couldn't get on board with so much of the turn-based fighting. I went off and watched a 7-hour playthrough so that I could get that story. So it made me want the story. So that is an example of a game that does storytelling right. So how has you felt about...
How I felt about it? I'm really liking it so far. I can't remember where. I've just got is it the curator? Weapons upgrade guy.
Yep. Curator. What a guy.
So that was very cool.
Is that the underwatery sort of...
No.
Yeah, like the house under the sea.
Oh, yeah. So he's done the Flying Waters, but now he's gone into the mansion and found the dude without a face who will upgrade his weapons.
Yeah, so I've just rescued, is it Mael?
Yeah.
The fencer girl. So I've just got her.
Oh, she's fun.
But yeah, a thing that I noticed about the start of it when you're in Lumiere is that all the stuff that when other games do stuff like this and try and do exposition, it always feels like they're about to yell exposition and then tell you what's going on. Whereas this did exposition really well without it feeling like the gommage thing, the story between the woman and Gustave. It was all done very quickly but very subtly, and it didn't feel like it was ever trying to push terminology or the world building on me.
It trusts that you are intelligent enough to you say the big thing about the gommage. It never says, oh, the gommage is this thing. It just sort of says, oh, okay. It mentions it, and by things happening, you're just like, oh, okay, I get what the gommage is. I don't know why it's called the gommage. What's the etymology of that word? Why gommage?
It's French for erase, I believe.
Oh, is it? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So maybe people who speak French were sitting there watching that going, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Or they would have had some hint. So maybe it's actually better for me that I didn't know what the fuck that word means, because therefore it was more of a... Although, I don't know about you, Ben, but I'd already kind of been given that sort of level of information from watching trailers and stuff. I knew that people were getting erased and shit, but
yeah, I can't actually remember what I was doing when the trailer first came out. I was watching the Game Awards was it the Game Awards when it came out, or one of these games expos? I was watching it, and I think I just like I was obsessed with another game at the time, so I had it in the background. So I only really learned about this game maybe about like a month ago, when everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's Game of the Year! Everyone play it."
Yeah. When the hype started is when I was like, oh, okay, and it was on Game Pass. I was like, right, I'll pay attention now.
Yeah,
but I never heard it originally announced, but just from people talking about it, I knew that was kind of like the main plot.
Yeah.
So I always had that.
I need to try and figure out if I'm going to buy it on Steam, because eventually it will go from Game Pass, and that's all my progress, and I just don't want to deal with that. Yeah.
Would you be able to? Can you like transfer that? I suppose.
No clue. Yeah, we'll see. But I'll definitely. Worst comes to worst, I might even just buy it on like the Xbox app or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the plan with the Xbox anyway.
Yeah.
Is to be able to make you play a game for so long and then remove it and give you no option but to buy it through their platform. But
yeah, I'm glad that Mark's enjoying it. It's let me tell you, I will say it's certainly got me thinking about like how I want to learn. Just like it had me think, it's like, all right, so how do game writers write for games, right, essentially? And I was like, oh, let's figure this out. So I started Googling it, and I realized that like the most recent threads come from like some random Reddit people like in the last 8 months, and also just like very old fashioned articles from about like 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm just like, oh, I have no clue. But it had me thinking, because I'm just like, oh, this is very interesting. I'd very much like to write something like this.
But yeah, all in all, I'm enjoying it a lot. It is very good.
Excellent.
And even the French pronunciation is surprisingly good and doesn't make it feel like it's someone that's definitely not French trying to pronounce French words.
Yeah. And of course,
it definitely leads into the depressing from the get-go, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it's very you. Although I feel like there's plenty of like lighter moments that you'll get to, like certain characters. There's definitely like moments of kind of like humor and comedy in there.
Yeah, it feels capable enough, or at least it's done the sad so well that it feels like it's just good at telling a story. So it won't it's not Darren Aronofsky, and it won't just lean into being sad for the sake of it. Yeah.
The everyone talking about how it was made by only 30 people is a bit of it's not really true, actually. I found out. But,
okay.
It's still a smaller sort of team. It's still like it's not like a hundreds and hundreds of people, whatever. There are cool things like all the music. They just found that guy on SoundCloud.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. The soundtrack's brilliant so far.
Make me music. Yeah. Like, what kind of guy is just sitting there making like weird, like fucking French,
slightly French fantasy music?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't know, yeah. I am hopeful that looking at whatever the gaming thing was, convention announcement, Summer Games.
Oh, Summer Games Fest.
That's it. Yeah, like it looks like there's going to be quite a few like quite creative things coming out soon. Okay. Like the Active Blood things look good. Romeo is a Dead Man looks quite interesting as well. So I'm hoping for just lots of like. I'm wondering if maybe the money in AAA gaming's dried up, and now they're having to do smaller, more interesting things. Oh, there's like a narrative boxing game where everyone's a Muppet as well that I can't remember.
Yes, I did see that. That looks very, very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I just look forward to corporate greed ruining the next the next space for some reason or another. You know, like. Because if this is the problem, isn't it? If indie does well, then they'd be like, well, we need to get on some of that. That's how we've ended up with like, well, I suppose less games related, so less video games because they're always pumping money into those and that. But things like recently with like lots of like video games publications like Giant Bomb and stuff like that. Giant Bomb being something that's managed to kind of like rescue itself. Remap Radio coming out of Waypoint from Vice, but like this idea of like, oh, these people, smaller outfits that talk about video games or a subject with passion, build communities. Well, they're doing really well. They're popular, so we need to get on that. And then they get on that, and they put things on it. And like recently,
like astroturfing.
Yeah, like have you ever watched Wisecrack? Recently, Wisecrack sort of like they sort of make like philosophical sort of like little kind of documentary style kind of videos, but they've shut down recently because and Michael Burns from there has gone solo because essentially they see something and then they go, oh, that's making money, so we'll buy it and put money into it. But they don't understand why it was successful.
Why it's making money, yeah.
It was successful because it's like, I listen to Remap, one of my favourite podcasts, and half of that is the appeal is the people that do it. It's not necessarily they're talking. I mean, they're all very people like Patrick Klepek and stuff like that. They're all very accomplished and decorated, like games journalists. But it's really about the people that the combination of characters and people like to be around them, listen to them, and they create this kind of community around that. And you can't corporatize that.
No.
But they will try because they have no... Well, it's like they're... I mean, it brings me no small satisfaction to compare like capitalists to like proper dyed-in-the-wall capitalists to like fucking something like a sea cucumber or something like that. They have no real intelligence. They just reflexively operate off of their kind of like greed. Like they can't not, you know. They can't not, and then once they get hold of it, well, then it comes under the same thing of like infinite growth. Rather than, well, do you know what? These 5 people made a podcast together and they were very happy to just make quite a good living and serve their community and be this thing. But there's a limit to that. Maybe you get more people listen to you, but you're not like, you can't go, right, well, we need to start now hitting targets and this, that, and the other. Like, anyway, so I don't know. But I'm assuming.
Something I'm reading at the moment that I must admit I don't entirely understand, but made quite a good point about how when something generates capital, like it becomes this idea that capital must be the reason that something made capital.
Yeah.
And it starts to ascribe to the capital that's made or the value of the thing that actually produced it. So it just becomes this horrible sort of like, well, like just spunking money into things must be the answer.
The money made the money. Rather than
the money did, the market did it then. It was the market, not the creativity or the thinking or the artistry. It was the market.
Well.
Shall we talk about anime?
Yes, let's.
One of you two start because I am the least qualified here.
Well, Ben can start by reading us the title, which is not going to do us any favors for like. I
mean, like
only half of that is going to fit on. Someone will have to mouse over it to see the whole thing, but I feel like it deserves the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like. It's funny because like I don't really prescribe myself as seeing myself as one of those anime a lot, but like also just like the title.
No one ever does. But
yeah, right. I was just about to say the title is just like ouch. Even though I don't prescribe seeing myself as one, but the title is "Am I one episode of JoJo's bizarre adventure away from attending an anime convention dressed as an overweight Sailor Moon character?" Now,
I suppose, actually, let me jump in on this because, Ben, you might be... I don't know if you're just too young to have missed this, but back in the day, when you had the internet, it was very uncool to like anime. And
really?
All the pictures of anime fans that went around were like overweight, middle-aged white dudes dressed as Sailor Moon characters. And that was kind of the image of the archetypical anime fan that existed.
I feel like that must have been an in-between, sort of like betwixt and between when I first got into anime, being the elder statesman in this operation. It was like manga, the company that we discussed that was like publishing it all. It was really fucking cool because it was. It was.
I guess it was quite underground, like sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like what. We'll get into it. I know that we made Ben watch Akira,
Yes.
but the next thing I'm going to make you watch, Ben, and I'm not going to explain anything.
Okay.
But this is the sort of thing that I was introduced to very early on, which is Urotsuki Doji. So,
is that like Monster City or something?
It's not. It's about demons and stuff, but like it has an almost. Like, well, okay, let's just leave it there. We'll come back and we'll discuss Urotsuki Doji at another point, because I feel like it'll be a better discussion if we could refer back to this discussion and go, Ben, what did you think of Urotsuki Doji? And then you're going to look at me and go, like, I'm surprised you didn't turn out worse.
Yeah, you've done all right considering.
But so you didn't want to sort of start. I think actually we could start because I think we have to. I did go through and put the bullet points into some kind of an order because obviously I feel like this should follow. And the first bullet point I put in here was like what our first animation experiences. So if I start very quickly, we can go through in like chronological order. So it'd be me, then Mark, then Ben.
The young blood. Yeah. What can I say?
The young buck. So I've always, it's strange because I'm not an anime guy, but I am really into animation to a degree. And I've always been into animation. Like when I was a kid, because I like drew things and mainly because like when I started like doing art when I was really young, like 3 or 4 or something, I used to draw a picture. I was obsessed with dinosaurs. So things with monsters in was really like my thing. And I've always been into like monsters and stuff like that ever since like, I was young. So my 2 really formative animation memories, I think the largest one has to be, but probably the other one was technically the first. But I'll start with the one that meant the most to me, which was the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Like I hear that in my head. I hear the intro to it where they go into the fairground. They go, it's the Dungeons and Dragons ride. And they get sucked into the portal. But that was one of those things. When I was a kid, I used to look, even as like a really young kid, I was just like, I knew that the animation was fucking amazing. However, going back and watching it like later in life, I was like, oh, actually, the animation weren't as good. But that's more of a thing of like I fell prey to where a lot of time and effort has been put into the intro.
Yes.
And then every episode that follows that is just been slapped out really quick. So anyway, but Dungeons and Dragons, because it had dragons, it had like sort of monsters and stuff like that, dungeons. And so like that was really big to me. But the other really big one for me was the Godzilla cartoon. And that was like the OG Godzilla cartoon with Godzuki, which was like his little, like, it was essentially like the kind of like the Scrappy Doo to Scooby of the Godzilla world. And that was a weird one because it was like there was a boat of people and they would like call Godzilla and Godzilla would turn up and just like fuck up the monster of the week. So it was very much sanitized outside. It was American production, so it was nothing to do with the original, like, I forget what the, it's not Tecmo, they make fucking weird games, but a Toho. It wasn't like original OG Godzilla affiliated. It was some American bastardization, but that used to be on TV and I was obsessed by those 2 in particular, I think. And then obviously I just went on through He-Man and Thundercats, like all those original ones. But so I don't know at which point, Mark, you would then have got on that kind of train, because how much younger than me are you? Is it like 5 years or like 10 years?
I think it's 7.
7,
So
okay.
I was sort of young enough that there wasn't really like a noticeable point at which I experienced animation more generally. It was just one of those things that was always very present.
But was there a show that like you particularly remember being into, or was you always a precocious child that was reading some depressing fucking book?
Anti-Oedipus came much later, I can assure you.
Okay.
I don't think there was, actually. I don't think there was anything that I was like, oh, there's something.
You
like,
weren't one of those
about-
kids that watched like Newsround or some shit, was you?
No, I fucking love Power Rangers.
I see.
yeah,
That's
that was
okay. Because so maybe that's the thing then. Because after a while, like, obviously Power Rangers was live action. But I can imagine when Power Rangers came out, that must have just totally blown all the OG sort of animated sort of series out of the water. Because like, why? I don't know. I remember obviously Power Rangers being really big. So okay, that's interesting.
Well, I guess I was like the perfect age to be an absolute sucker for it. It was like I'd not seen anything with sort of any attempt at martial arts or like dramatic choreographed kung fu in or anything. Not seen much with like giant monsters in. So it was a perfect storm of all of that and having the Pink Ranger at just the right age for a boy to paying attention to the Pink Ranger.
And so Ben, tell us about. It's like, how many more years younger than me are you? Because this will be interesting. Because I wonder if you're going to say something, I'll be like, oh, I was still kind of paying attention because I still watched shit, but I just like didn't have as much interest for it in terms of like being really into something. I was aware of children's TV.
So I think, I don't know how much younger I am than both of you. But also,
well, you're just are you 30?
I hit the big 3-0 last year. Yes.
Okay, so like in what is going to be a fucking traumatic sentence to say, you are 15 years younger than me.
I mean,
we cater to all sorts here.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, I learn new things from YouTube every day. So
I'm hoping you're going to come and visit me when I'm in a home.
Of course, I get wisdom from my elders. So,
True.
It's interesting because, like, from my experience, I went to the States when I was very, very young. And I just kind of watched TV when, like, I always did watch Saturday morning cartoons. But I'll tell you what. I wasn't actively looking for it, but my first foray into animation was about a bunch of magic ninjas jumping around trees and like this really angry blonde-looking dude like making lots of clones of himself and talking about his traumatic backstory and like,
oh god damn it!
Unironically, like
I've been tricked.
Unironically, my first anime was Naruto, and then like. I did just kind of go from there. Like, I watched Akira today, but I was watching lots of just like other stuff. So one of the ones I do watch like every year or so is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I really enjoyed Soul Eater. There is one that like I'm a little bit too scared to consistently watch because like there's just so much. I think it's called what? Detective Conan, I think.
Conan wasn't a detective.
But yeah, like I had a really, really on and off like relationship with like watching anime for a long time. It wasn't really until like maybe uni when I actually started watching like a lot and actually remembering what I watched. Yeah, so it's quite a new thing for me, like within the last 10 years or so. But when I was younger, not really.
But you've made me think of a thought, which is that obviously these days like anime is much more, or even like 15 years ago, or wherever, you know, like when you were a kid, like because anime was so much more prevalent, like I had to be served my cartoon by BBC or ITV children's TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I would have learnt about anything. That's where I got served anything, and then Saturday morning sort of stuff on terrestrial TV
That's
channels.
One of the first like times I remember being impressed by animation. Actually, was whenever they would have been sort of like early to mid 90s when they did a load of new Marvel cartoon series.
Right.
And there was the Iron Man one where they had CGI in the intro.
Yeah.
It was like the first time I'd seen CGI on telly.
Oh, the first time I saw CGI on telly was like some fucking whack thing called something.
Reboot. Did you just badmouth Reboot? God damn it.
Yeah, and side story, I remember I was sitting in the front room eating a packet of salt and vinegar crisps, watching Reboot when my mum was out and my brother was playing with his friend, and his friend came in and said, the dog has just bit your brother. Because my brother was winding the fucking dog up, and the dog jumped up and snapped at him. Like, so technically he kind of bit him, snapped at him, and caught his lip and tore his lip open. And I had to get an ambulance.
You don't like Reboot.
I mean, I think it was very early CGI, and I think I just always looked at it and went, I can tell that this is fucking whack.
Yeah,
like,
it was
from the first moment.
They weren't pouring money into it.
No. But I think that to sort of bring it on to like, because it feels like I've been like a much more like a long-lasting sort of animation fan, even though I'm not. It feels wrong to say I'm really into animation because I'm like I don't spend all my time looking at it, but I'm into lots of things. But so from those kind of cartoons, obviously from my point of view is that there was a kid at school when I was at senior school, and he used to draw these pictures all the time, and I'd be like, what's that? And he told me about manga. And then I started watching it. And then I remember my mum and dad used to read the Daily Mail. I don't think they really just thought about what it was. It was just like people just did that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hold it against them. But in the Daily Mail, they used to have a TV guide. And I was of that age where you looked in there and they had a key, which was like different shapes. And triangle meant that this was like an adult thing. So often I had a TV in my room. I had the classic 90s teenager small CRT TV with tape deck.
Yeah.
Right? In my bedroom. And I saw that Akira was going to be on, and I'd heard people talk about it, like this kid at school. So I knew that it was manga, and I remember watching it with the volume like really low, and it was on at about like 2 a.m. And I watched it, and I think I recorded it, and like I had, and you've just watched it today, Ben, but I had never seen anything so. Like, not only was it adult, and was it sort of like violent, and which I mean, it is violent, but it's violent in places. It's not gratuitous, I don't really think, but like adult, and then so it was cool because of those reasons, but also from a point of view of like aesthetically being into art and stuff. Like I because you was watching it, I rewatched the first half of it before this. And then it made me think about like the way I'd never seen anyone draw smoke or liquid or foam, or just like the way they handled like hand drawn shit. I don't know. It was just, it was a style. The way the characters moved differently to how I'd ever seen in animation. So I don't know whether that was because it was running at more frames a second than I had been used to for Saturday morning TV. But like, it was like revelation, like to see. And I think that's probably where like maybe I didn't really know it in a way that I could sort of voice. But like the first time I'd looked upon animation as like a proper fucking like art form, And to jump ahead, the next time would have probably been when my parents were away on holiday and I got up early. For some reason, I woke up at about like 8 a.m. and I'd bought like a fucking ounce of hash off some dude, and I just started smoking and I watched Spirited Away at about 9 a.m. really fucking high. And then I was just like, this is beautiful. And I watched it, obviously not stoned, and it was also beautiful then. But like, I think that Akira was the first time I looked at something and I was like, this is gone beyond Saturday morning cartoons, which is just about entertainment. This is art. This is beyond like childish. This is something sort of more. So yeah, and I think when I was talking to you, Ben, the other day about like that whole first sort of bit with the bikes and the way they've animated the tail lights trailing into thing, and just
I love seeing that.
Everything about it. And I watched it again today, and I was like, this is dated, but it still stands up because, and I think this is very pertinent to our time that we're in now with the rise of AI and just in general anime being incorporating a lot more 3D elements for ease of production and stuff. The fact that like that everything was just like every cell was like fucking hand drawn. Like it was a real like dedication to craft. So it was, I don't know, I think that even though it looks slightly dated, you can, that effort and time kind of shines through and almost makes it sort of timeless. Like it will never, I don't think that's ever not going to look good. But yeah.
No, I would.
So what would?
No, I would certainly agree. I think, and obviously at some point we'll talk about it, but obviously with Akira, I think I very much noticed that, like, for the lack of better term, I suppose that lightning was captured in a bottle. Like there wasn't a single time, a moment when I was watching it where I was like, yeah, I truly believe that this place exists. Like there wasn't really anything that really took me out of the experience. You mentioned specifically with Akira, just like how like the light trails were just kind of going like behind the motorcycle. When I watched that, I was just like, oh, that's so nice. And like, obviously, the Akira slide has been referenced in every single form of media, right? Like that's like not even just anime, but any other forms of media, you will find the Akira slide. But one thing that I actually didn't really focus on was that it was actually my brain made a really weird connection with the cycles and just like with the lights kind of like trailing behind them. I was like, this reminds me of when I watched Tron Legacy, and like I don't know why, but it was just like that, and it was just like, oh wow. Like I think there's something to be said that it's very, very nice where you can see like from like something like Akira, where every other bit of media that like you've enjoyed has been pulling stuff from. That the fact that you can see the original thing and just like how it was like there, like that filled me with a lot of joy. It's just like, oh, so that's where that's from. And like just seeing that, and like don't even get me started on orbital lasers, because like, oh, like what a fun trip. It's like, damn. But I think just on top of that, what you were mentioning in terms of just like the increasing use of like CG elements within animation, and like unfortunately this will always go back to something that we loathe and discuss about in this podcast. It's just also because of capitalism. There has been some horrific working conditions for animators, particularly in the anime sphere. I remember I still have this video saved. I need to double check if she still has it online. But there was this very young looking woman who was an animator for a quite popular like kind of battle anime show called Jujutsu Kaisen. And she was talking about her experience of like working on that during season 2. And it was just so rough. Like, if I can find the link, I will try and find it. But like,
Yeah.
there have been like real like hard working, like unfair working conditions for like animators, specifically for like some of those big series. And I think it's something that kind of comes to a head because like you see some of these series get like really big in terms of just like not just like the anime sphere, but also just like pop culture as well. And it's just that like you can see the love, work, and care that's being put into it, but there's also just like an underlying feel that just like, oh, are these animators are they being able to see their family? Are they able to like get like a good night's sleep? We don't really know, but like it's rough because like some of my favorite series I have found out that they're just like they haven't had great working conditions. That's certainly like not made me as happy to watch, knowing that, I would say. But
and it's shown because the second series of JJK is really good.
Yeah.
But
phenomenal.
like, you can't watch it without thinking, damn, it's like these boys were bleeding over themselves.
Yeah, no, exactly the case. Like that. This will go into a further point. I'll discuss it in a further point. But like, there is a point with not just anime, I suppose, but it is very prevalent in anime communities that like they reach almost like a critical mass in terms of just like hype, and then like it gets to a point that if you're a casual fan, you're not going to be able to have the luxury of being a casual fan because someone else who's like a hardcore fan will ruin that experience for you. That was my experience with Jujutsu Kaisen. I will go into that a little bit later, but I think there is something, the thing that I do want to talk about more that was certainly just in terms of just like the style of animation and just like really capturing that lightning in a bottle. Because like what you said, Iain, about Akira is just like, my only regret is like I didn't watch it soon, if I'm going to be honest with you. I had a really good time, and I talked to Mark about this like maybe 6 to 8 months ago, but there was a certain period of time in like the early 90s till about maybe mid 2000s, like up to 2005 maybe, where like not just animators but like manga authors and manga illustrators, they were going through like their punk element, and you could just see it in the way that was just being credited in their art and just like the way that they're referencing things. They had this really punk counterculture type of element. Like some of my favorite drawings, and I will send you a couple images later, of like Naruto was not even within the actual manga within themselves. It's just some of Masashi Kishimoto's like illustrations where like Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke are just all wearing like fucking streetwear, and they're just like leaning over a wall, and they just have like this big like punk element to them, and it just looks so cool. And I think that's the type of thing that I really realize I kind of yearn for a little bit more, just a little bit more of that like counterculture, I guess. But
I think I will be honest, so we can talk about this in more detail in a moment when we get onto things like recommendation. But like, I have never been able to understand Naruto. I've not like, I see it, and you know, forgive me, but it feels like Naruto is more of like a child's anime to me. I don't know, like in comparison to other stuff. But before, like, I mean, I would just say that everyone should watch Akira if they're into anime anyway. Good story about like so many different themes in there, and I think it like obviously like
you might
Godzilla,
even understand some of them.
Yeah, but like Godzilla, it's like carrying on that like the deep traumatic pain that lives within the Japanese people, like the whole kind of nuclear, like Hiroshima and stuff like that. All these different themes.
I mean, that's like the fucking opening.
Exactly.
Tokyo is about to explode thing, isn't it?
But like
just so well done.
Adolescence and stuff like that, like feelings of inadequacy with Tetsuo and that. But like also, one thing I noticed was that it's a fucking pit. Like everywhere is fucking dirty and run down and broken, which I've not been to Japan. I do want to go at some point in my life, but that is, and I don't know if there are slums as such, but it feels very much in opposition to what everything I kind of know about Japan, which is that people take a lot of pride in things. It's very clean. It's very orderly sort of thing. I know a lot of like salary men are often found sleeping on benches because they're pissed out of their heads. So there is an element of like,
there, right?
Yeah, but like I don't know if there was a conscious thing there that Neo Tokyo was like this completely fucked, degenerate, weird place. And there's so much more going on with all like the revolution is happening in the background, and Akira is a borderline, is being seen as a god, and there's people who are like almost worshipping him and stuff like that. But what I do want to hear is that is why Akira gave Mark nightmares.
Yes.
What exactly was it? Because I said to Ben before when we spoke about this briefly, is that it gave you nightmares, but for me it was just like totally inspirational. I didn't like. There was nothing like that for me. I was like, oh, I'm blown away by this. But so, what was the situation within which you consumed it that fucked up your mind?
Well, I think the soundtrack is genuinely like very unsettling and very well written.
The bong.
Yeah.
Like, it's very simple and chants and stuff.
But I can't remember how old I was, but I was in primary school when I watched it the first time.
Jesus Christ. I mean...
So yeah, I was probably like a teenager. Which
okay, so yeah, my dad's mate at work lent him like a bunch of like anime VHSs. There was that, Battle Angel Alita, Appleseed Cast, which really bored me, and
Appleseed's like looks like you want to like it, but I didn't like because it's got the big robot mech guy, but it's not actually that interesting as far as I remember.
Very good. But yeah, so it was the scene where, where he's in hospital and he hallucinates like the car and the bear.
Oh.
And then he like ends up picking glass out of his feet while that fucking soundtrack's going on. It was just like the most deeply unsettling thing that I'd seen to date at that point. But if I remember correctly, Battle Angel Alita had tits in it, so that was pretty good.
Yes. But that was another thing.
The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away.
Yeah, that was another thing about early like manga or anime when it came around for me, is that aside from it being really cool, violent, action packed and adult, it also had tits and everything pretty much. So as a teenager you were just like, this is like amazing.
Yeah, ticks all the boxes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could totally see that. I think that goes back to like what I was saying about how well they animate fluids. Whether it's milk or blood,
or just like when he treads on the glass, just like it shatters so realistically.
But that's another thing about like Japanese animation. It's like they know, and Western films have kind of cottoned onto this a long time ago. But like they know when to just sort of like push and pull time. So there'll be like a step, and then they like slow for a split second, and then it snaps and he like falls back on it. Or like the bit where Tetsuo breaks out of hospital and he nicks the motorbike and he rides off with Ikori or whatever her name is, I can't remember her name, and the other biker gang come along and they get him and they pull her shirt off and they punch her and they're beating him up and they're going to set fire to Canada's bike. And Canada comes back and he runs up and he jumps on the front of the bike and he kicks him in the air. But that thing of like, and they do it in Expedition 33. It's that thing of like, at a point of impact, you just slow it down a touch to create this kind of like sense of like weight, and he like kicks him off the bike, and it just that was another thing about watching it as a sort of young teenager. It's like the way this moves, like it moves like nothing else I've ever seen.
It was also made in an era where it was good to do cool things. Like you didn't have to be like low key or gritty or self-deprecating in media. Like you could have a man jump on a bike and kick another man off it, like in like full color, high speed with slow motion, without people thinking it was cheesy, because it was just cool as fuck. Akira also taught me it's my first experience of quite a regular occurrence in anime where characters will just shout each other's names for dramatic effect.
Yes.
Tetsuo and Kaneda spent half that fucking film shouting each other's names.
Canada.
And I've realized that is a thing that happens in a lot of anime.
Yeah.
People are just saying each other's names a lot.
Oh yeah.
But this is this is interesting because obviously I think this is exactly what I said to you about, because we had this discussion about what version, and I think you grew up watching the dubbed version, and therefore, like you said, that's the one you want to watch because formative childhood memories or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I obviously wanted to watch. I watched the Japanese Japanese subtitled version. But obviously, we both took the same thing. So I wonder whether they actually had the English dub redo the shouting, or did they use the shouting from the Japanese version? Because listening to him going, Canada, like, that's in my head like forever. Yeah, but that's definitely something that I remember about the film. That and like you said, it is a trope. But as is just, I think, just shouting in general.
Yeah, there's a really good one called X that I watched years ago. And it's got like this really like quite poignant, sad ending where the original Japanese audio, everything happens in silence. And in the American dub, it's just two lads just going, ah! at each other. It's like you couldn't have Americanized it more. Not even words, just yelling noises at each other.
Well, so I mean, obviously, it is a favourite of mine, but then maybe we should move on to like just favourite anime in general or animation. Which, let's face it, it's going to be sort of anime. But who wants to offer up some of their favourites? And we can compare and contrast.
Ben, how do you feel about Windbreaker?
Tastes.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be excellent. It's on my to watch list. you know. I've heard some very good things. I've heard some very good things. I saw a clip of it on Twitter, even though like there's like 2 seasons now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just saw like a clip from 2 weeks ago's episode or something, just to be like, it sounds very cool.
Great.
Oh, you know what? When I was younger, I would very much say like, oh, I really like these like action, really like these action animes and stuff like that. And like, I find like the more that I actually open my horizons and actually like try and become like a more like balanced individual, there is more to life than action as a genre. Shocker. And I would say I have a couple of favorites. I would say, and it's hard because like I always want to go for the nostalgia, and just like Naruto's always going to have a close place in my heart because it was the first one I ever watched, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I would argue
there's some very, very bad bits of Naruto.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
including like the last quarter of it. But
oh yeah,
that's
100%.
Just tell me, is the last quarter like about 500 episodes? Is it one of those animes?
Yeah, so it really dragged out, being really bad by the end of it, which was quite something.
It feels like I'm getting Final Fantasy 14 flashbacks. It's like things going on for too fucking long.
Yeah, bad things that take too long.
I have many thoughts. One day I'll unpack them, but for now I will just push them down. As all healthy coping mechanisms are. I would say my favorite anime that I've ever watched is probably one called Blue Period. It's about a high schooler, and I can't even remember what he was doing before, but he just got obsessed with learning how to draw. And like, there's only literally 1 season of it on Netflix, which makes me so sad. And I don't know if there's ever going to be another season. I know that there's a manga going, but like, this kid just like did not have like really any experience of like drawing before, and like he was learning, and it was just so nice to watch. like I'm very much the type of person who will be like obsessed with just like lots of like mystery style of animes or just like action animes. But this, I don't know, it just kind of touched me. It was just nice seeing like someone just look at something and like, you know what? I really, really want to be able to do this. I really want to have that drive and focus. And like, even though other people like within the anime were just like kind of like, oh, are you sure about this? And like he had a lot stacked against him. But like it was just really nice seeing him just like focus. And I don't know, it was just really, really nice. And I think out of all like the action shows, action animes that I've watched, it was just felt real. I think there wasn't really like anything about like space gods coming down from like the X dimension or just like kind of like affecting the world, or wasn't about like a 900-year-old demon like residing in a child's body or whatever. It was just real, and it was really, really nice.
That is such a classic wholesome Ben answer.
And it just sounds like, knowing what I know about you and your quest for learning to draw, it's like did they make this anime for you? This is like,
I mean,
feels like your life story.
Is this real, Ben?
I mean, it might be in the future, who knows? But like, the only thing I was going to say is just that there is another one that I do want to share. And I'm slightly hesitant because it is quite new. And like, I don't want to put the bar too high, but there is one called, an anime called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. And like, put aside everything that I just said about like not having like those magical type of things. This is basically like, it is very D&D coded.
I feel like I've heard of this one.
Yeah.
Like someone else, like maybe Super Eye Patch Wolf was talking about it. I don't know, but or maybe is that on Netflix as well? Like it looks like the very stereotypical.
Let me just double check.
Like a party of adventurers are going, like you say, it could be a D&D campaign. I feel like there's a few of those.
Yeah, it is on Netflix, and it's okay. I rewatched it recently, actually. But yeah, it's literally, it centers around an elf. Obviously, her name is Frieren, and as like all things in fantasy, elves are known to live for fucking ever. So it starts very sad because like it's basically right at the beginning. They like literally episode 1. It talks about like how they defeat the big bad demon king, whatever, and now it's just about life after like defeating the demon king. And you kind of follow Frieren's journey as she is part of the world, but not really part of it, because like she did this thing with like a group of adventurers, and now that purpose is done, she's just going around like trying to figure out like new spells, new magic, stuff like that, while the world is kind of passing her by. And like she stays exactly the same, but like she loses track of time by like a few decades or so. So like the next time she sees like one of the people that she was in an adventuring party with, he's like 70 plus. And it's just like talking about like the passage of time, her navigating like loss, making new friends, and just like even like kind of like taking on new pupils and stuff like that. It was just a really, really, really nice anime. Like, don't get me wrong, there are action scenes. There's like, and really well animated, but like the action is almost secondary to the actual main journey. And like I found that like the action supplemented like the actual story. Like I never found myself thinking like, oh, I really want to see another fight. I'm always curious to be like, oh, what town is Frieren going to go through? What type of like weird and wacky people is she going to meet? And just what is she going to take from all this? I think just like as I get older, I'm less interested about the fights, and I'm just more interested in being like, what crazy situations are you going to be in? Like, who are the people you're going to meet? What's going to become of you because of it? I'm preferring slice of life things now, I feel. But yeah, those are my two.
I was going to say slice of life anime is a whole genre that I've not really plumbed the depths of, but I see it and I'm like, I can't. Part of me is always like, I cannot believe they've made anime of this. Like, I always see the ones just like when they're playing in a basketball team. And like,
Yes.
I'm like, they made an anime about that.
Yeah.
The only thing close to that is that for a while there used to be a live action sort of, I'll say anime in inverted quotes, called Kantaro, the sweet-toothed salaryman, about a man that takes a sales job just so that he can travel around Tokyo trying all the desserts. But it's delivered in such a Japanese way. Like every time he
I'm literally writing this down.
every time he eats like a new dessert, he's like eyes roll back in his head and he's like, oh, it's so. Me and Connie watched the whole lot and we were just like, it's bizarre, which leads me to basically my favorite animes, or rather my favorite genre. I think that I obviously used to like the kind of action stuff when I was younger, but I know that I am definitely a fan of the absurdist ones. I feel like the Japanese have got some really good comedy chops when they get weird with it. Like, so my favorite,
they lean into it. Though fucking Japanese humor's amazing.
But my favorite is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because it is surprisingly so bizarre.
Yes.
Like if you like the first it's like, you know, oh, we've got this thing and like, oh, he's like, it's so stupid and like cringy almost in the first season. And then it's like, oh, we've got the second one, we're fighting like a vampire. Oh, and now he's got a power called Harmon and he's going to use Harmon to defeat him. And then it's like, oh, we're in the third season. It's almost like, oh, I got bored of that. So now he has this other type of power. and they keep just giving him more powers. And then it's like, they have stands, which is essentially like a demon that kind of comes out and fights for them. So it's often like two people just standing still while their demons fight. And it's fucking ludicrous at the same time. I obviously love like, what's it called? One Punch Man. One Punch Man is what brought me back to anime. It's probably a bit basic bitch these days, but like I was like, I like that it was a subversion of the classic anime sort of tropes. Because it became this whole thing about how you need to strive for something in life, no matter what it is, to give you something to sort of live for, and how like there was no challenge anymore for Saitama. So he just like, he was bored and he just wanted something, like, you know, he's striving for meaning because everything was meaningless because he just killed everything in one punch. And even though, you know, every episode is going to end exactly the same, I just really enjoyed it. But when they get like, when the Japanese or anime like writers get fucking weird with it, like, I'm there for it.
Yeah.
And the only other one I really like is Baki.
Yes. The gayest anime going.
Yes, but like super violent as well. Like, what was that film? Was it called Three Kings or something? It was like might have had Ice Cube in it, but either which way, it was like an army sort of film in the 90s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s. And it was this film where people were getting shot and it would show you in great detail, like the bullet, it would like switch to an inside. It's a bit like Mortal Kombat. You know, when you do fatalities and you see like the skull fracture inside their skin, it would go like an X-ray or it'd go inside. Baki's like that. You get to see like massive amounts of trauma. Yeah. Like it is. But whilst it's being so serious about this one conceit of like Baki, as for what I know, mate, like 16-year-old must fight everyone. It's like very weird.
For some reason, this incredibly strong 16-year-old has to batter like superhuman lads from around the world for reasons.
And it just, I don't know. Like I remember I watched that all three seasons of Baki and Baki Hanma or whatever on Netflix. I loved it. I absolutely loved it because not only did it get like really fucking weird. Sorry, not only was it like quite interesting, like ridiculous fights, it was weird as well. Like just one guy had a special move where he would pull some hairs off his head and make like a little loop. And then while someone was stunned, he'd put it in their ear and then slice their eardrum so that they couldn't stand up anymore. It's just like, and every time he did it, I was just like, this is just so. That was also the same one that had George Bush in it, Mike Tyson, and Che Guevara in prison. Like, that's why I think that if we end this episode with giving each other recommendations, that's the one I recommend that everyone watches because it is fucking berserk.
But not Berserk.
I was going to say I need to watch Berserk because I keep hearing about it, and again I've been listening to Super Eye Patch Wolf's. He does that podcast called Versus Wolves where he does it with a guy called Wooly, and he's talked about. I mean, he's made fuckloads of videos on Berserk as well, which I haven't kind of watched because I was like, oh, I should probably watch that. So I'm gonna watch Berserk, but yeah, I want you all to watch Baki. Because I just want to talk about like the stupid shit that goes on, and like what was going on in this person's mind.
Yeah, yeah, I do certainly feel like once people get rid of like certain notions of sensibility and just go for like batshit crazy, I think that's where like some of the most interesting and funniest bits of art can really come out from. Like.
Yeah, just lean into it.
Yeah, because like, look at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The effect that anime has had on like fucking, not even just pop culture, but culture as a whole. The to be continued thing is memed to high heavens and is used like outside of like even the anime. And like, there's one thing that like, whenever someone talks to me about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I've never watched it, but two things come in mind. The to be continued and the fucking piece of paper and the gun. Like, what is that? Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense, but like, as soon as someone says it, that's one of the things I imagine immediately. And yeah, it's really nice seeing people like throw away any form of sensibility and just being like, you know what, let's get fucking weird with it. It's just really, really nice to see.
Is part of that all of these things we're talking about, whilst they do get really fucking weird with it, is there also a big part of why it works is because they also simultaneously take themselves 100% seriously.
Yes.
They never like,
it's, the leaning in. You can't do weird and be like self-aware at the same time. You just have to go like completely for broke.
Yes, yeah,
and they do.
No one.
What about you, Mark? What is your favourite? Your favoritist?
I don't like. I've not watched that much of it, to be fair. Like, I've forced myself through Naruto, but it took literally 20 years. I started watching it when I was at uni and finished it last year.
Oh my god!
I know, right? Yeah, Windbreaker's been good. I did enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't really know. Like, I enjoyed Blood the Last Vampire, the film. That was just, I remember that being really good when I watched it. But yeah, I can't really. I'm too green where anime is concerned to be able to make any grand recommendations.
Are we just sort of taking it as read that like Ghibli is its own special thing off to the side there that is just
that's like
Ghibli's good. You don't need to talk about it. It's just fucking all good. Good. All, like, people should watch Ghibli because it's good.
It's like the Disney type vibe, isn't it? It's like it's its own thing set away from other types of things.
I will admit, I don't think I've ever watched a Studio Ghibli. I'm thinking about it.
Oh,
surprises
Ben.
me.
It's not Spirited Away.
I don't think I have.
Right, Ben. I mean,
that and Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah,
See, I know
think that
of
although I want you both to watch like Baki, Because
Well,
it's
I've watched
fucking mental.
I think the first season and a half of Baki.
Yes. But for you in particular, Ben, knowing that what you kind of like in my sort of estimation, I don't think there is a guy that like good, wholesome, beautiful, like magical Miyazaki, like Spirited Away, I think might have like a deeply profound effect upon you. I think you are the right spiritual receptacle to get that. And Howl's Moving Castle, but I feel like you should start with Spirited Away because it is like I said that Akira changed my life in terms of like I didn't know animation could be this way, but like Spirited Away, and I know I'd said that I smoked like probably about a quarter's worth of hash while I watched it, while my parents were on holiday, but like I remember I felt different after that film. It's very hard. Like I'm trying to be very like profound and like honest, but I know that like I've already told you that like I smoked a load of hash, which you know everyone's gonna be of course you did, but like honestly, like I've told you a million times, I've smoked weed habitually, daily, all day in day out for 20 fucking odd years. So. The fact that I got up early and waited
you can separate it.
It's no real big deal. It's the same thing as like, you know, it probably would have been weirder if I weren't stoned. It's a bit like when I used to go to rehearsal. It's like, why are you playing so shit? It's like, because I got no weed. So anyway, but like one thing I think I could probably say about that is that obviously the story was like, it was so warm and cozy. And sort of like on that morning, it was a summer morning, like I had the windows open and it is like beautiful. It's genuinely beautiful as well as like moments of sadness. But like the whole thing is very magical and beautiful and evocative. And there's so much like world building in it. And I just think that like, even though I want you to watch Baki, I feel like you, in particular, Ben, should make it your, you know, has Lucy seen it? Ask her if she's seen any of that. But if not, you could watch it together. It is amazing. Like, and then that could start you on a whole journey because there's nothing more wholesome than like Ghibli films and Miyazaki because like, and there's nothing more wholesome than Miyazaki, obviously. Fucking love that dude. Given where the world is at right now, like he seems like we could have done with a bit more of him. But like anyway, yeah, that's those are my two recommendations to you, particularly Ben, but to everyone else, watch Baki Hanma and get like proper violently gay with it.
See, that's all I want from anime. Like I just want like stupidly stylish hyperviolence. And if it can be gay, then all to the good.
Well, I mean, look at JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Like, it is quite literally the gayest shit I've ever seen. Like, everyone's so like sassy. There's not one character that doesn't look like they couldn't have come from like an 80s new romantic sort of band.
There's a lot of pompadours.
Yes, which I appreciate massively. But also, they're not only like super stylish and gay in a kind of like bending all the rules kind of way, they're also jacked as fuck as well. Everyone is massive. Like there's no one that isn't just, I don't know. It's JoJo's is a special thing. I need to watch the most recent seasons with his daughter or granddaughter. Like Jotaro, like Joestar doesn't seem to age, so it's very hard to know what the fuck's going on. But I know that my favourite is it's probably like the third and the fourth season whereby Jotaro is knocking about with grandpa or like his dad, which is Jonathan. Each season,
Sort of Joe.
Each season is like another generation of the Joestar family, and they're all just like
generation.
Yeah, Joe, right? They're all just like really good at everything. It's that thing, like anyway. Yeah, absurdist, powerfully gay, and like, and intensely fashionable. In a way that you couldn't really dress like that because people.
Oh God, no, not really. Yeah, you look ridiculous.
But they look really cool. Okay, well, I feel like I'm all out of anime.
I mean,
yeah, we've done a lot of anime.
I think the only thing I would recommend definitely is I would say give Blue Period a go, and hot take.
Oh, period.
Castlevania. I feel like that is an anime.
Oh, I watched the first couple of seasons of that. Yeah. But you know what? It made me want to watch. It made me want to go back and find and watch Vampire Hunter D, which is back from my era again. That's like an old one.
Okay.
But it's cool because he's got a magical hand in his palm, a magical mouth in his palm, and he kind of like sucks things in with it. It's just
amazing.
Again, gotta love anime. It's just wacky.
Iain,
he's got a magical mouth in his hand.
I'm googling it now.
Is it a hand job? Is it a blow job? Who knows?
It sucks off demons. I'm pretty sure that's that.
Well, that's where the D in Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's ever explained why it's D, or either I weren't listening because I was just obsessed with like the sucky hand.
Oh, gee. Yeah.
I always assumed it stood for Dracula, but
I mean that feels like it makes sense.
True. But he was very cool as well. And he had like almost like a Brave Star robot horse, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, because it's actually
giving that. Yeah.
I see the picture.
Because whilst it is kind of like vampire-y aesthetic, it was also, I think, like slightly cyberpunk and post-apocalyptic. I think it's in the future. I think it's like, it's one of those ones where it's like, it's futuristic, but it's also kind of like, I don't know, old school. Like everyone's dressed in sort of old clothes, but they all have like fucking cyber pistols or whatever.
Oh, on the topic of anime tits, no one said Ninja Scroll. Watch Ninja Scroll. They're good.
Okay, I'll have a look for that. I mean, I'm into anything. I'll take any recommendation other than Naruto. Or even though I
can't even recommend Naruto and I like it.
Yeah, same.
Even though I want to watch it, I can't. I just don't know where to start with One Piece. Like, I desperately want to watch. Maybe I'll just find.
It's like Bleach.
Oh, that as well. Like, maybe I'll just. Even like Evangelion as well is a bit kind of like. Sorry, which order do I have to watch these?
Yeah, that's gone bad now.
Has it? It's gone bad. With like One Piece, maybe I'll just find out which seasons have Don Quixote do Flamingo, who I don't know much about him other than that's the most I know. But I know he wears like a big pink feather boa and he just goes does this big laugh all the time, which I'm kind of into.
I'm a fan already.
Yeah, because there's that guy Ohio Boss. I'll find it after this and send it into thing where he does like this little stupid like it's like a little TikTok clip or something that he's done like with a bottle of wine. It's I watch it again and again and again, and that's how I learned who Don Quixote do Flamingo is. Like, so yeah. Anyway, I think we can tuck this one into bed.
I think so. Yeah.
and then go out drinking for the night and leave it unattended.
Yeah.
Like all good parents.
Yeah. I was gonna say something like desperately like non-PC about being in Portugal.
You may as well.
That's right.
Oh yeah, fair, yeah.
Yeah. But on that note, thank you for listening. Please follow us on all our socials and comment to let us know your thoughts on this week's topic. You can find all our socials below, but have a great day wherever and whenever you are, and we'll see you all next time. Bye!